How many times have you read the back of a book and read the words teenage girl and dystopian with boys? Probably a lot. Dystopian genre has become romanticized like vampires and furries, and with the success of Hunger Games, many people decided to jump on this bandwagon, and it became a subgenre much like the isekai video game genre in anime. So as you can imagine, when I saw Red Queen in a bookstore, I read the back of it and put it back down. But I had read it because my mom couldn't finish it, or at least she wasn't going to finish it for a while and thought I needed a book to read, and yes, I had nothing else, so I went with Red Queen, which threw me down a 4-year run with this series, which I never thought I'd be on. Which brings me to my War Storm review. I enjoyed the Red Queen series. Surprisingly, as I mentioned before, I was a bit hesitant to read it, but, you know, I'm willing to admit its faults, though. I'm trying to be as non-biased as I possibly can. And before I get even more into the review, just want to say this is going to have spoilers, considering it's like August now and the book has been out for a while, so why not? For those of you who need a reminder, Red Queen is about a girl named Mare who lives in a world divided by blood. You have people like the Silvers, who have these powers. They're like practically from Avatar: The Last Airbender. They control these elements. And the Reds, the red-blooded people, can't control anything. And so they are being oppressed by the Silvers. However, things change when Mare falls into an arena during a contest to see who is the best wife. And she falls with a bolt of lightning. So now we got a red with lightning powers, and that changes the game for both the Silvers and the Reds. War Storm is the last book to the Red Queen series. I cannot believe that I made it that far, but I did. Congratulations to myself and to all of you who probably either spent 4 years waiting to be done with the series or spent 4 years not wanting the series to end. So this book takes place right after King's Cage. No joke, this book swings straight into action with excessive dialogue and lots of plane rides. So yeah, War Storm is a bit slow, which is something that King's Cage has done, but people were very excited to get our perspective with our favorite angsty boy, Maven. Anyway, we spend most of our time in Montfort discussing war and the Mighty Buffalo while Maven polishes his crown and pisses off Iris. Eventually these characters come together and have some interesting interactions, discussing relationships and oppression, which kind of reminds me of high school. In fact, this could very well be a dystopian version of high school. I know it sounds like I hate the book when I'm reviewing this, and as I mentioned before, I was hesitant in reading the books. But the character development has pushed some of these faults out of the book burning zone. I have to say, out of my 21 years of life, I've never come across a book series quite like this. Victoria Aveyard manages to take characters out of typical waffle territory and into characters that could be somewhat memorable. We have different points of views from Cal, Evangeline, Maven, and Iris, which give us a bigger, broader view of this world, because I feel like for some reason first person really puts us in this trapped mindset. We're only seeing one side of the story, and sometimes I feel like characters don't get as developed as they should be. And that is definitely the case for Red Queen. I feel like a lot of this stuff should have happened at the very beginning of the series, but since Victoria Aveyard is new, I kind of am giving her a pass on that. The thing is that she did eventually get there, which is really cool to see. Again, I haven't seen many authors make this transition. I mean, I think Lee Bardugo made an excellent transition from her Gresha series to Six of Crows. I mean, I can't wait to see what else Victoria Aveyard writes. Red Queen makes itself out to be a dystopian book about oppression while trying to make some kind of commentary on modern-day America. However, we've seen these books before. Hunger Games and Brave New World 1984, you can't get better than those books. Some of them were written by geniuses who lived during a time where they wanted to write those books because they saw their own societies or societies close to theirs going that route. The only thing that Victoria Aveyard could do was to make interesting characters to distract us from the fact that this world is copy and pasted, which is something that has done in a video game like Detroit, which looked and felt just like Blade Runner and iRobot. But if you watch Jacksepticeye's game through, and at the very end he mentions that the characters distracted him from the fact that it did feel like those things, and that it was a big giant reference. But because of the character development and the storylines, you have people who just are invested in this game. So go play Detroit. That's this review. Go play Detroit. And again, to see a series like this that can finally stand on its 2 feet has been awesome for me. And if you really want to read a series and see something develop, then I think Red Queen would be something that's interesting for you. Now, I would love to end this review here and keep it on like a high note. But of course, there is much more to get to. And there are just some things that I just cannot stop thinking about. For one thing, the writing is repetitive. Something that many fans of the Red Queen series have mentioned in their reviews. I've only seen a few other reviews of Red Queen, but I know definitely repetitive writing was a big one. I'll also add in the fact that it tells more than shows. Like, the author keeps on telling you the characteristics of certain characters, rather than just letting their dialogue and their actions speak for themselves. Like, for example, we get many lines of Cal being a soldier, copy and pasted over and over again. I wish I could count how many times Victoria Aveyard says this, but I don't have that much free time on my hands. Also, another thing too with the writing, and I'm not sure if this is exactly the writing or just the world building. It's probably the writing. We'll go with that. Okay, so something just happened. You can see the air conditioning is now on. Let me turn it down a bit. My phone got too hot, so it stopped recording right in the middle of the review. So yeah, we're gonna try and end this as quickly as possible. As I was mentioning before the camera just cut out, thank God it saved all the footage. There were a few plot things that were mentioned earlier on in the series that I thought were going to be played out in King's Cage, and were not. At one point, Julian says in King's Cage that silvers are the are not the gods chosen, but the gods curse. And I was like, oh, so we're gonna learn some kind of like world building stuff in the next book, right? I don't know, I was just thinking we'd find out more about their power. You know, maybe there's something about the silvers that is going to cause them issues, whether it be like health issues or I don't know. Just something interesting about the world we haven't seen before. And in Warstorm, they do mention this again, but the only reason as to why they're the gods cursed is because they have some difficult decisions to make. Like, what do you mean by, like, difficult decisions? Are you talking about everyone in modern day America? Because that's pretty normal. It doesn't add anything. It's anticlimactic, and I expected something more, but we didn't really get it. Another thing too that was mentioned early on, but they don't really expand on and actually could have added some more interest to Red Queen, was the fact that Reds could create their own power while the Silver Bloods like had to wear their power. Like Evangeline, who can control metal, has to wear metal, and Cal, who uses fire, has to have these wristbands that somehow have flames that pop out of them. And this is never mentioned again. Like, I don't think ever. I don't think we get any non-Silver or New Blood's point of view, where they try to battle a Silver and take off their power, which is kind of strange, and it kind of makes everyone seem more overpowered, because that felt like a very reasonable way to bring Silvers down to Red Blood's or New Blood's level. But because, you know, it was never mentioned again, or we didn't get to see that in use, it was practically pointless. This brings me to another point too that I just thought of. They also mentioned how Cal, while being a soldier and a king, can also apparently event things like motorcycles and can fly planes. The flying plane thing gets mentioned in the second book, but the whole entire machine building thing in King's Cage and in Warstorm, again, is never brought up. How is he that smart? It's so random. It was probably a way to make him, like, seem more interesting, but when the fact that Maven almost kills Mare in the second book using a machine that Cal made himself, and the fact that they never bring that up or talk about it, kind of makes it seem like the author just forgot about it, or kind of thought to herself, yeah, well, you know, that probably wasn't that great. No, I feel like you should probably go back and write that stuff in and kind of justify it, rather than just throwing it aside and being like, that never happened, because then it just feels lazy. And even though I hate to call an author lazy, because I know they're under so much deadlines, but that just feels a bit lazy to me. So the last thing that I want to talk about before this camera shuts off again, because it's in the sun again and I'm afraid it's going to die. The ending is probably the biggest thing that people talk about about Warstorm, because Warstorm is the last book to this series. I follow Victoria Aveyard on many platforms. Stalk Victoria Aveyard on many platforms. I just find Victoria Aveyard to be a very fun character, and probably one of the most adorable authors out there. And before Warstorm came out, she had mentioned on her Tumblr how she was worried about people reading the ending. And I don't think she ever expanded on that, and I think, you know, it might have been because of the fact that it is the ending of a book, and if you don't write a good ending, people aren't gonna like it. But by people I mean my friend, you know who you are, was predicting that everyone was going to die, and that there was gonna be a huge death toll, and I'm like, wait a minute, no, it can't be. But because the author was so cautious of it, and people were also talking about it on the internet, it kind of made me think, oh god, this could, like, ruin the series, because I didn't see a reason as to why all the characters had to die. It's just kind of, in my way, that's also another lazy way of writing, is just being like, well, the only way out to the series is just to kill everyone. And while some characters have to die, I don't think it's reasonable. But I was actually really satisfied with the ending and the death toll. So I was like, why the worry though? Like, it concluded. No one, like, not everyone died. Why are you so worried? Then I'm like, oh. That's why. Yeah, Maven is everyone's favorite character, which I get it. He's fun, he's sassy, he probably has the most character. Before they all got developed, he was the most interesting character. So yes, I completely understand. Though I saw him more as Norman Bates and also a means to an end, because there's no way he's coming back from that mental thing going on in his head right now. And also too, I think the author wanted to get off of the Red Queen series. I believe she mentioned that she wanted to end this arc and kind of go off of this world, but no longer write Mare's story. And the only way to kind of do that, or at least the only way I think to kind of do that, is to kill the main antagonist, which she did. So I didn't really have an issue with that part. Well, I thought that part of the ending was done fine. There was another part of the ending that I didn't think was ended too well, and that was Mare and Cal's relationship. We spent this whole entire series, spent this whole entire book anticipating Cal's decision on whether to choose Mare or the crown, and we finally got that ending. We're at the good ending, you know. We played the whole game the right way, and we got the good ending where Cal and Mare were together. Cool, great. But that was all kind of thrown away when Cal had issues with Mare killing his brother and Mare wanting to go and venture off on her own. While I don't mind Mare being single at the end, because that's not something that has been done a whole lot in young adult. Young adult is all about, finishing up the world and two characters ending up together. Like, let's be honest, like, we all love our ships. It's just part of being a teenager, and it's just part of our interests. I think it's also just part of, like, stories in general. So I was actually pretty happy with that decision. However, the way it was done, the way it was executed, didn't make a whole lot of sense. I mean, and the last battle that they had, Mare literally told Cal to his face, "Hey, I'm gonna go get your brother now." And Cal was just like, "Okay." And that was kind of a small summary of how it actually went. But you get my point. Cal gave her the okay, he knew what she was doing, and at the end of the day, she did not want to kill him. It was self-defense. In my opinion, if you have a crazy brother who is killing your love interest as an older sister, I would feel like I would feel sad, but I don't know if I would be angry at someone that I love kind of just defending themselves. I feel like it'd be reasonable. Cal said to himself, there's no way we could save Maven. And I kind of wish we got more of Cal's point of view on that when he saw Maven, what was going through his head on his interactions with Maven. Because we got a lot of our point of views through Mare, not through Cal. And that hurts, especially in the end when they're making this decision. That hurts when he's cycling through all of this. Because the only way that I could see his being angry at Mare justified is if we were given more background to them as kids. To Maven and Cal as kids. If I were Cal and I had a younger sibling who turned into a monster, at the end, when she died, because basically that's what happened to Maven, I would be thinking about the kid that she was, not the monster that she turned into. We would have felt so much more empathy for Cal. We would have reasoned with him more. And if we had more time with Mare before she leaves at the end of her, deciding like, it's great and all that Cal made this decision, but I really need this time to think and to kind of rid myself of the past. And to kind of make right with myself with what just happened. Because, after going through all that, you need some time to yourself. You need some time to digest all of that. And I thought that was a very mature decision for Mare. And if we had gotten more time spent on the ending rather than the very beginning, we could have had that. And I think it would have tied the ending up a lot better. So at the end of the day, Red Queen wasn't a terrible read. They weren't terrible books. They were entertaining. And for all the bad things that I've said, if you just want to sit down and relax and read a book, despite the fact that it might be cliche, Red Queen might just be that book. So anyway, I can go on and on and on about things that I actually like about this book, like the fact that Evangeline played matchmaker for some of the book, and also Maven's fun reactions with everyone. I don't want this review to go on forever. So, I will see you later. Hi. I was trying to keep it...
I heard you. I don't normally sound like that. Hold on. I'm sorry. These laces aren't.
I don't think you parked up further enough.
Well, do you want to fix it?
No, it doesn't really matter. It's like one person here.
And they parked right next to us.
That's like the equivalent of going into a public bathroom and the stall is being wide open. You go in one and someone decides to pick the stall right next to you.
It's really sad. Okay.
Hi, friend.
Wish me good luck. Is he? Oh, I got weird people. I don't want people. Hold on. I'm sorry. I gotta get my phone out. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.